Good afternoon. How are you today?
I'm fantastic. I'm so excited for the topics that we've been covering, and I wanted to ask you, what has been your favorite episode so far that we've done?
My favorite?
Yeah.
The one that I've had the most fun with? I think that the one that I've gotten the biggest response from and some of the funniest comments and funniest emails about was stocking your home bar or medicine chest.
Yeah.
I think people really enjoyed that we kind of made it easy for them to understand that this really isn't as hard as they thought it was, and we kind of did it in a humorous light. So I've gotten some really, really, really funny comments off that, and I've enjoyed that one, I think, the most.
I have enjoyed so many, all of our episodes, but I know that one of the episodes that a lot of people are listening to and continuing to catch up on if they missed it was the CBD episode.
The CBD episode was fabulous. It was so nice to be able to, in this day and age, to be able to talk to people on a very base level and have them understand, know that I'm not trying to sell them something. I'm not trying to tell them that my product is better than yours, and if you don't like it, I'm going to take my ball and go home.
Right.
Just to give them some really base facts. And so many people have come in afterwards and said, okay, well, this is what I've been taking. Can you help me understand what this is? Or my doctor wants me to be taking this, but I don't know where to get started. So I think that really opened the door to a lot of conversation, which is really the whole point in doing this in the first place, is to open people up to a conversation that maybe they don't know how to have, or they're afraid to have, or they don't know who to have it with. So that's been really great to have those conversations with people.
And don't you think, too, a lot of the episodes, which I feel like we are demystifying a lot of these topics, but a lot of the episodes, you know, if you look up information, if you Google, you know, CBD and that sort of thing, so many things come up and it can be confusing, and they sometimes can contradict each other.
Well, without upsetting the apple cart, as it were, there are a lot of businesses that are cropping up, a lot of people that are cropping up, a lot of information that's cropping up where people are trying to sell a product. And while I applaud the American dream of having your own cottage industry, such as it is, and I would certainly never tell anybody not to start a business if they thought that was what was right for them. The one thing that I would say is that unlike selling a car or a lamp or a new carpet, if you are dishonest with someone about CBD or supplements or herbs or essential oils, all of which we've covered at one time or another, if you're dishonest with someone who has a health condition, you literally are taking their life energy, their life force, and possibly a time of their life away from them. And that disturbs me.
Yeah.
So I want people to have an understanding. I want them to have it from a very honest place. And again, they're welcome to email me or call me or message me on Facebook, although I don't have Messenger on my phone, so it may take me a while to get back to you. But message me, comment, come in the store. If you have a question, I don't care whether you buy something from me or not. If you have a question, this is your life. My job is to help you have the best life that you can. And I want to answer those questions before you do something that's going to potentially hurt you, or you break the bank trying to buy something that's going to save you that is little more than snake oil.
Yes, definitely. If they want to reach out to you, what's a great place? The website's a great place to get your contact info.
Absolutely. Probably the best way to reach out would be either through the website, which is www.thecenteroftown.com. That's center with an S. You can email me. I'll put my email in there. You can find us on Facebook. And certainly, we're located in downtown Fredericksburg. I know not everyone is in Fredericksburg. My phone works. You can call me. You can always call me on the phone. Privacy is an issue for people. If you call me and there's someone in here, I may ask to call you back just because your privacy is important to me, and I want to make sure that I can answer your question effectively. But If you have a question on something, please don't hesitate to reach out just because we've never met. We just met. Hi, I'm Susie, and your name is?
Exactly.
Awesome. It's great to meet you. Now we know each other and we can move on. We're past that.
Yes,
hurdle.
I love the fact that you will answer any question and give information, and you really are very forthcoming with, everything that you know. You do a lot of research, and it really is helpful to a lot of people in any situation.
Well, thank you.
Yeah, it's very nice. I'm so excited about our episode today. We're going to talk about Reiki.
We are talking about Reiki.
Now, first question out of the gate. Does that have anything to do with yard work?
It doesn't have anything to do with yard work, and that's a great place to start. Reiki, in fact, the easiest way to explain it is to break it down by its Japanese kanji, which are two, rei and ki. Rei means universal. It means the world, the energy, the universe, and beyond. Ki, if you think of it like chi, means energy. So it's the life force energy, and Reiki just means the universal life force energy. It is not, and we'll just start this off. I know you have 1,000 questions. I can see your list over there. It's not yard work. It's not a religion. It's not a cult. It's not a group. You don't have to join. There aren't any dues. Your mileage may vary. Action figures are sold separately, and batteries are not included. The way that I like to describe it, and I think that this is an easy way for people to understand, and again, take this with a grain of salt. It is a laying on of hands. It is a tangible prayer, is the way that I like to look at it. Every religion, every society, every culture, every group throughout time has had a healing methodology that relied upon placing one's hands onto someone else. They had nothing to do with religion, or they had everything to do with religion, depending on which one you were looking at. But it's all the same energy. It's all that same channeling. So Reiki is simply a channeling of that energy, a movement of that energy, a flow of that energy from the universe into the recipient through the practitioner.
I think, a lot of people, so many questions with this, but I think a lot of people, you talked about religion, for instance. I think a lot of people come into something like Reiki and they think about, okay, well, that doesn't line up with my particular religion of choice, but I hear there are so many benefits with it. How do I get over that hump? What is it going to do for me? And how do I make peace with the fact that, I am religious in this aspect, and then I'm doing this thing called Reiki?
It's a really good question. And I'm going to explain it to you as though you were my client, the way that I would explain it to them, or the way that I would explain it to anybody. Just because I became a Reiki master teacher in 1999. So this year actually makes 20 years.
Wow.
That I've been doing this. So I've kind of mastered that sentence, choose your word here. So if you were to come into me and you were going to say that to me, this is how I'm going to respond to you. Well, that's great, and I understand exactly what you're saying. Let me help you understand where I'm coming from. So I have a Christian background. I am, in fact, a Christian. If that doesn't align with you, that's totally okay with me, as long as you don't have a problem with it. I'm going to use words that come from that sort of ecumenical standpoint. If they don't align with you, please let me know, because I can use different words. But sometimes for me, when I get talking about this, because there's so much to say, those are just easier words for me to fall back on. So I was raised in a Methodist church. This is my belief system. Reiki has nothing to do with that.
Right.
I have worked with people who were Catholics. I have worked with people who were agnostic. I have worked with people who were atheists. I have worked with people who were Jewish. My faith and my belief has nothing to do with what's happening with Reiki, nor do I ask you to join a club or change your religion. In fact, I ask you to embrace that while you're here, and while we are working, I ask you to sort of immerse yourself in whatever your faith is whether you worship the flying spaghetti monster or whether you are a Judeo-Christian. Whatever your faith is, I want you to embrace that while we're working, because that's what you're going to walk out with. That's your energy that's going to walk with you. And all we're doing is we're just saying, hey, this is, and we're going to help them in the best way that we can.
So I'm just going to pull the Band-Aid off the awkward section, and I'm going to ask you this straight out. Is Reiki a healing method?
Absolutely. Oh, you want me to expound
Well,
upon
I thought
that?
maybe we'd have a little more discussion around that.
I can have
Good night
more
and
of a
good
discussion
luck.
on it. It seemed like a pretty straightforward question to me.
It is a pretty straightforward
So
question.
maybe the best way for me to help you understand this is to help you understand what Reiki isn't. So Reiki isn't a religion. It isn't a dogma. There aren't principles. You don't have to join a club. I said that already. But I think I really need to stress that. Reiki is, for me as a practitioner, it was a commitment that I made. My Reiki master, who was one of the most amazing human beings I have ever had the pleasure to know in my lifetime, Don Wingate, one of the things that he taught me, and the ideology that I like to practice, is become the hollow reed through which blows the breath of love. Reiki does not come from me. I have nothing to do with it. There's no ego involved. I do see people from time to time who are, well, I'm a Reiki practitioner. And they have this very grandiose idea, and I certainly applaud them if that's where they need to be, and I'm not judging. But I was always taught that my sole job, my sole purpose in Reiki was to be an empty vessel. I am but a conduit. It has nothing to do with me. I have made a commitment to remain that empty conduit, to allow this energy to go to whoever it goes. How does it go to them? Through I know a lot of people call it a massage, but there's no manipulation. It's first of all, you're fully clothed, unlike in a massage, which usually sets people's anxiety level back a little bit. They calm down a little. I'm going to gently touch you. If you don't want me to touch you, I don't have to. You're going to listen to some peaceful music. If there are some things in particular that I notice that are happening in your body as we're working, I'll bring them up to you. If you don't want me to bring them up to you, I won't. You can lay there for the full hour and not say a word, and I can not say a word, and we can go away and say, have a nice day. But what you're coming away with, that cleansing, that opening, that grounding, it truly is life-changing. For each client that I work with, I will tell them that they're going to go through what's known as a 21-day cleanse. 21 days because we have 7 chakra, and we go through a physical, a spiritual, and an emotional cleanse. This happens whether you have a Reiki session or whether you have an attunement to become a practitioner. So those first 7 days, it's a physical cleanse. So you're going to feel different things in your body as it moves through each of those chakra and helps to realign that energy and move it out the way that it needs to. But also in a physical sense, it's about you, who you are, what you want people to see you as, and recognizing what people see you as. So your second 7 days are your emotional. So these are going to go through those 7 chakra, and we're going to clean out the emotions that go with each of those chakra. So for instance, as we get up to the heart chakra, which also affects the lungs, this is where we carry our grief. So this is going to be a time that's going to open up those channels of grief and help us to see the grief that we're carrying and how we can use it in our life, but also how it relates to, and this is where that emotional state comes from, it's also the most important people, your inner circle, the people that are closest to you. This is a time that you're going to evaluate those relationships. How are you viewed in those relationships? How are other people viewed? How do you want to be viewed? So it's a time to cleanse that relationship. And then your third week is your spiritual week. So this is your relationship with your divine, whatever that means. Again, that's none of my business. But whatever that sort of divine energy, even if it's just the universal energy, you're going to tap into that. And again, look at who you are and who you are seen as by the people that are just outside your immediate family, just outside of that immediate circle. You're going to review those relationships, and those relationships are going to be reviewed in a way of, where do I stand? How do I see them? How do they see me? So as you go through this 21-day cleansing cycle for each of my clients, not only do they go through it, but every time I have a Reiki session with someone, I receive a Reiki session. It's sort of my bonus for being that empty vessel. And every time that I do a Reiki attunement, I receive a Reiki attunement. So I actually will walk that path with them. It becomes a very close relationship, even if we never see each other again, because we will always walk that area of our path together. We will go through those 21 days of cleansing together. So it's a really beautiful thing to share with someone, but it can also be really difficult if you're not ready to embrace the things in your life that you need to embrace.
That was deep. That was deep stuff. I'm thinking about several things. I mean, do you get one Reiki session and then you just have this 21-day experience? Do you come back in the 21 days?
It depends on the person. Some people I see once a week. Some people I see once a year. Some people I truly have a standing appointment for once a season, because they know as the seasons change and as the energy change, they need to be able to adjust and look at their lives differently. People that are going through treatment, they come in as they can. For people, at least in the Fredericksburg area, that are in active treatment, they all know that if they want Reiki, they can come by the shop at any time during the day and sit down, and I will give them Reiki for 5 minutes. It's at no cost to them. They can come by at any time that they want. And I have a lot of people who will take me up on that as soon as they finish treatment, to come by here and just, okay, I just need enough to kind of get me through today and be able to function. The integrative medicine program, of course, here has a Reiki practitioner at the hospital that you can do a full session with. Those are by appointment. I see people by appointment. But for people that are, as they're going through treatment, it's a nice little way for them to make that break from therapy to home. They swing by here, they sit down for, it literally is 5 minutes. They sit quietly. I kind of help balance them out, and then they go home.
It's so mysterious to a lot of people. You know, it's this whole thing of, I can't see what's happening. This is not something tangible that I can pick up and use, like a tuning fork, like things that we talked about, you know, in previous episodes, but like a CBD oil or a pill that I can take. It is not that. It is something else that you cannot see.
But can you see the wind?
No.
Can you feel the wind?
Yes.
Can you see the wind moving a tree?
Yes.
Can you see the damage that wind can do?
Yes.
Do you believe in wind?
Yes.
Why?
Because I can see all of those things that you said.
But you're not seeing wind.
Right. But you know that that's the root cause.
How do you know that that's the root cause?
I guess you really don't.
Right.
Right.
So if I can say that a dog comes in here and he's having pain, and I do Reiki on him for 5 minutes, and the dog sits there and jumps up and starts dancing around in circles and eating treats when he hasn't stood up for 4 days, can you see the Reiki? No. Can you see that the dog is feeling better? Yes. You can see the results, but you can't see it. But did it really happen? If a tree falls in a forest.
I knew we were going there.
If a tree falls in a forest. But I mean, it really, I know that sounds sort of flip, and I don't mean for it to sound flip. It's just, you know, and I could ask you the same question, or I could ask someone else the same question, you know, have you seen God? No. Well, do you know that there's a God? Absolutely. Well, how do you know?
Right.
Well, because I've seen the things he's done. Okay, well, we're right at the exact same place. It's a circle that just keeps going. And my thought process on it is, if it's working, why do you have to explain it?
Right.
Why do you need to know more? And I get that people do. And when I teach classes, that's one of my biggest questions from people is, well, how do I know that it's working? And I'll say, well, how do you feel right now?
Yeah.
and
Let's base it on the results, is what you're saying.
right. How do you feel? What are you feeling right now? What did you feel 5 minutes ago?
Right.
As opposed to what you're feeling now.
Do you think there's an element of, and I'm not talking about religious faith, but do you think there's an element of faith, believing in this that you cannot see, but seeing the results of it? Or would you use a different word?
Absolutely not. Which I see by your face, you're a little surprised with me, but bear with me for a second. Let me help you understand. Reiki is around, the energy is around each of us all the time. We feel it. We feel it when we walk into, Reiki is just a channeling of that energy, but you feel it when you walk into a restaurant and you immediately go, I don't want to eat here. Or you meet somebody and you instantly go, yes, this person is going to be a friend of mine. That's that energy. That's that same energy that's around all of us. Reiki is just a channeling of that energy. The reason I say no, here's where I'm asking you to bear with me. Reiki doesn't care if you believe in it or not.
Right.
Reiki is there. I've made the commitment of that energy is to be there. My commitment is to be the conduit for that energy. Beyond that, if you are resistant, if you are locked down, if you are blocking and not interested in receiving that energy, it's okay. It doesn't get mad. It just goes where it needs to go. So think about electricity. If you knock a power line down, that electricity goes into the ground. Where does lightning go? When it hits the ground, it goes through the ground. We all know someone who has been, air quotes, struck by lightning that were, a football field away, but they were standing in a puddle because that energy travels. Energy never dies. It just changes form. So this is just a changing of that energy and moving into the body in a different way. You don't want it? That's fine. It'll go to the person next to you. It'll go to the person down the street. It'll go to whomever. And just to really kind of mess with your head, when we do distance Reiki, so if you were at your home, and I do get requests still for distance Reiki for people that can't make it in. So if you're at your home, we make an arranged time for you to receive your treatment. Again, there's no cost for that. And so I sit down and I think of you and I imagine you receiving this and you are sitting in your home and you're relaxing. And I don't care if we're a mile apart or 10 miles apart or 1,000 miles apart. Think of all of the people between me and you that are Reiki practitioners or are attuned to a healing energy or attuned to a higher energy. All of that, it picks up and it picks up and it picks up. It's like rolling a piece of tape across the carpet.
Right.
By the time you get to the other side, poof, it's huge. And that's what you're receiving. And you're receiving all that love and that energy from everybody that passed across. Has it got to you?
Not to sound woo-woo.
Not to sound woo-woo.
But, I mean, you're talking about the distance Reiki. I mean, that would almost require an even more, not sure what the word would be.
A larger level of understanding.
There we go.
Right.
A larger piece of faith, if you will, even though you didn't want to use that word. But
no,
something,
faith is a great word. I love faith. I have faith
belief
in things.
Openness.
Absolutely. I have faith in things that faith of a mustard seed. That is my life. But once people, and normally we don't talk about doing Reiki over a distance unless it's somebody who has been coming to me for a while and then they're unable to continue coming in here and maybe they're at end of life and they don't want company or they can't have company or somebody in their family needs it, and I will say I'm going to just send some energy to them and everything will be fine. And typically I will hear back, oh my gosh, you're not going to believe what happened, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, no, I've seen things I know that it works. I have no doubt. And if I believe, you don't need to believe because faith of a mustard seed.
So Reiki Master sounds so official, by the way.
It is official.
It's so official. Would you describe that as because we've already tied in this healing conversation, would you describe that as a facilitator of healing?
Well, that's a good way to put it. Yes and no. So I am, and I have to kind of back up a little bit to explain that effectively. I am an Usui Reiki master. Usui is the methodology that I was trained in. My Reiki master was, for those of you who are Reiki people, my Reiki master was 1 degree away from Phyllis Furumoto. So I'm a 3rd degree from Phyllis Furumoto. So I was always taught that there are 3 levels of Reiki. Reiki level 1, Reiki level 2, and Reiki master teacher. Level 1 is all about me. It's all about me getting myself together, finding who I am in this world, bringing myself into balance, but also being able to help other people. But understanding that I can't help others until I can help myself. Reiki level 2 is where we begin to work with people on distance healing. And because you said woo-woo, and I'm really kind of having fun with all the faces that you're making, not only are we talking distance from here to California, but we're talking distance past, present, and future. There is no time. There's no time linear. There's no time circular. There is no time. So once we start working in distance healing and we talk to people about children that have been abused or traumatic events that people have gone through, what we do is clearly we can't go back and we can't change that event. But what we can do is send a loving energy to that event to help them see it as something that was helpful to them to bring them where they are now. So they're able to make peace with what has happened to them so that they're not continuing to beat themselves up and drag that forward. So that's Reiki level 2. Then Reiki level 3, which is the master level, is facilitator for healing. That's such a good way to put it, but there's so much more. My commitment at level 1 was to be that empty reed, to be that vessel. My commitment at level 2 was to be a much bigger vessel because I'm going to be reaching more people and helping more people and opening to that energy a little more. My commitment at level 3 is to share that energy not only with people who are my clients that have a health condition and need treatment, but also to share that with people so that they can then go out and share it with people. My job becomes taking a part of myself, a part of my hollow reed, and giving it to them to help them on their path to start their growth of their hollow reed so that they can go forth and help other people. So healing facilitator, yes, but...
And so much more.
And so much more.
I think we need a drink after all of that.
Is it time?
It is time.
All right, so... Staying in sort of that serious note, I know we normally keep things a little fun here, and we are gonna make this a little fun. But today, I know how you adore my bourbon picks.
I do. I
when
love
we
them.
do this.
So at the end of every episode, we do pick and by we I mean she picks a bourbon, and it's always tied into the topic, and it's always fantastic. And I'm ready.
I don't think you are this week.
Uh-oh.
But this is so great. So this
go.
week, because we are talking about Reiki and we're talking about the non-religion of religion and we're talking about tenets and non-tenets and we're talking about expanding and sharing and loving and bringing that forward, the bourbon that I picked this week is actually from Bob Dylan, and it is the Heaven's Door Kentucky bourbon.
Wow, look at that.
Because I think that you can't come much closer to understanding that life force energy than you can to being at Heaven's Door with Bob Dylan.
Right?
I mean, it's Bob Dylan. He's right there.
There he is.
And since I'm showing this to you, this bottle actually, these are the gates to his home.
Oh, that's right.
He has put these on the bottle. So this is a 30% small grain. It's a 90 proof. It's actually really, really lovely. You can't tell it all by the fact that we've managed to
have a little bit.
Have just a little bit before we got started. This was a bit of a tough subject to address. I definitely recommend this one from the Heaven's Gate people. Please pick it up, enjoy it, and find a Reiki practitioner near you or call me.